come to the end of the first full trading week in the month of March. Hello, everyone. Thank God it's another Friday, the 10th of the month. This is how we begin to look towards the end of the week. But let's give you a quick recap of our market day for Thursday, where the Nigerian market eked out just 4 basis points as we saw a continued uptick in the rise of the largest industrial goods maker, the largest cement maker in Africa, Dangote. Shares went up more than 1% on Thursday. That lifted the NGX a few basis points, still holding the 55,000 level. Dangote Cement has just gotten approval of the Securities and Exchange Commission to roll out a second share buyback program that will be on the street until the end of the year. So investors pricing that into the shares of the cement company. The BRVM went up by 32 basis points. We saw uptick in the shares of the Bank of Africa, of Niger Republic, and that of Burkina Faso on Thursday, 206.99, just at the doorstep of 207 for the BRVM Composite. The Egyptian market had a final trading day upside by 0.85%, despite a couple of pressure right now on the country's inflation as well as exchange rate. A bit of that later on the show when we'll talk about the North Africa's economic headlines. The Nairobi stock market was down 0.35% and the GSE 0.1% yesterday when the market took on a bit of a nervousness around risky assets on the back of the Jerome Powell's U.S. Fed Chairman's testimonies 2 days this week. The economic data out of Germany. This morning, we're getting a couple of some positive news as far as UK's GDP is concerned, but the nervousness, the concerns about whether the US Fed will raise interest rates in line with Jerome Powell's speech. What will it be? 50 basis points, 25. How long will that be? Moving down the rest of the year is anyone's guess. We'll keep our eyes peeled for the March 21 and 22 FOMC meetings. Great. So let's start checking into the East African markets and grab a couple of stories. Earnings coming through from some of the banks within some of the companies in East Africa. Now the banks are reporting. Stanbic Bank of Kenya is reporting a very robust earnings for the full year 2022. Those numbers came on the street on Thursday and is still making the headlines this morning as the final trading day in East Africa gets underway. That's one news you don't want to miss. The earnings are here and the banks are coming up very strong, not just in Kenya, but across the African markets, as it were. You've got a couple of news also out of the banking space, not just in East Africa, but we're getting also more of that also from West Africa, and in particular across the Nigerian markets as well. The news this week was the open banking system guidelines that the Central Bank of Nigeria released. We're trying to get a bit more of that. News came in from the Statistics Office overnight that Nigeria reported a 1.2 trillion naira trade surplus in the year 2022. The numbers just came in from the MBS. So keeping an eye on that. In Ghana, the currency seemed to be recovering. The cedi has been recovering since the month of March started, according to Brand Merchant Bank of South Africa. The cedi was down about 25% on the dollar between January and February. Now the cedi is making a bit of recovery because there's less demand on the corporate side for US dollar in Ghana, one of the biggest economies in West Africa. But a couple of banks, such as First Rand and Standard Bank of South Africa, are booking down their losses or decline in the value of their Ghanaian bonds portfolio. All that on the back of the local debt swap that the Ghanaian authorities conducted back a couple of weeks ago. All that in play as we get into the weekend. So if you look at the Southern Africa space, Sanlam reported better than expected, in fact, a robust earnings for full year 2022. Its dividend payouts went up by 8%, despite claims in billions of rand paid last year on the back of the KwaZulu-Natal flooding, and as well as the crisis, the riots and protests that saw a destruction of a number of facilities in the country, South Africa, in the past 2 years. All those incidences, risks I've not been able to dent so much of the earnings from Sanlam. Sanlam is now forecasting that it sees global recovery in 2023 and 2024, and that its business will benefit from there. Standard Bank also reported better than expected earnings. And of course, we've seen quite a whole lot this week from Momentum Insurance Life, as well as the GSE itself, which reported a decent headline earnings per share. We've got a whole lot more for you within the with the Southern Africa market, and you can just read up on some of those sellers. Let's try to sum it up in North Africa, where the Tunisian stock market came back into positive reading about 0.2% Thursday after declining Tuesday and Wednesday on the suspension of Tunisia from the World Bank until further notice on the back of due to those anti-immigrant remarks which were credited to President Said. So good news, however, as Egypt is looking to see things get a little bit better, but the problems as far as the economy is not yet over. The central bank in Egypt is expected to raise interest rates, according to Goldman Sachs, at least by a minimum of 50 basis points later this month, because the currency is getting a little bit weaker and inflation trending higher. February inflation for North Africa's biggest economy came in roughly 32%. That's just about a 6-year high, and that's no good news for President Al-Sisi's administration. Quite a whole lot to catch up in North Africa. You can get all the details go to our website, www.frontafricareports.com, and you can watch this show again on our YouTube. You can subscribe. It is free. You can also find us across all social media platforms. I am Bosin Amafai. Have a great weekend. I intend to have one. I'll see you next time.